Welcome, everyone. Meeting number 5309. First, I want to thank Bert George for bringing wine and getting you guys all lubricated so you'll actually tolerate me. Thank you, Bert, and those who poured the wine. Thank you, too. Thanks to today's greeting line, which was the program committee. A quick announcement about me. A couple days ago, I was with a fellow Rotarian who the next day found out his wife has COVID. So I was with someone who had COVID. So I carefully checked the standards with Kaiser and the county and everyone else I could find. And we are all distancing and we're all wearing masks, and that's what we're supposed to be doing. So there it is. Also, another apology, we're still working on the mechanical systems in the building here. We hope to have HVAC next week, but we really don't know. We will continue to work on this. We might even consider some more radical solutions if we do not quickly get HVAC. So with that, I beg your indulgence, and I apologize on behalf of the club. It's not as simple as us just calling a repairman. This building is owned by the city of San Jose, as you all know. I'd like guest introductions right now, and also those of you in the back of the room, if you could keep quiet, I'd really appreciate respect for both the program and the people who are about to speak. So if you could please come to the microphone, but starting with Scott Seaman. Scott, would you bring your guest to the microphone with you, please? We're going to start a new protocol today, which is when you bring your guests, or when you introduce your guests, please bring the guest up to the microphone with you so we can properly recognize them. Let's start with Scott Seaman. Scott.
President Steve Scott Seaman, retired city government police. I'm pleased to introduce my guest and a prospective Rotary member, Chief Anthony Mata, Chief of San Jose Police Department.
Welcome, Chief. We'll let you talk later. Thank you, Chief. Hello.
President Steve, I have a guest here today, Sajid Khan. Sajid Khan is a practicing attorney. He's running for the district attorney of Santa Clara County. So,
welcome, Sajid. Welcome.
She's got her application in. Octavia Derby from Octavia's Kitchen. So we're going to compete. I just bumped into Rod Deardon, and Rod and I are in a competition for the #1 recruiter for the year. This next year.
Way to go. Welcome, Octavia. Welcome. Mike Conniff.
Afternoon, President Steve. I'm very happy to present my longtime colleague, Mark McKenna. He's a retired professor. He worked with me for many years at San Jose State, and he has a very strong suit in international affairs, and I hope to engage him in that in our club.
Wonderful. Welcome, Mark. Hi, Irby.
Hi, President Steve. Abe Smith, non-weather consultant. It's my pleasure to introduce my guest, Joan Lease with Heritage Bank of Commerce.
Don't leave. Stay there for a moment. Joan Lease has been my banker for like 74 years or something like that. And she's actually about to retire and move to the wine country. But Joan's one of the great people in our community who doesn't get a lot of kudos. So Joan, you know how much we love you. Thank you.
President Steve, I'm Arthur June. I have a number of guests here today. First is the wife of our speaker. I'll introduce her, Barbara, who's here.
Welcome,
today.
Barbara.
We'll introduce the speaker in a minute. Also, we have a number of guests. One is sitting there, Shannon Boyzaus, and Dr. Dean Foreman and Chris Baldry. They all flew down just this morning from Sacramento just to be with us today, and they're leaving to go back to Sacramento. So I wanted to give them a warm welcome. Also, Dr. Foreman has created 3 charter schools up in the North Sacramento area and wrote a book on charter schools, John Adams Academy. So I thought you'd be interested in that. Also, I have a guest here. He's the CFO of Merrill West Credit Union, Brian Hennessy. Please welcome Brian.
Arthur, if you're hoping to get an award for the most guests today, you don't get an award. Good try. Next, please. Welcome.
Hello, President Steve. I would like to introduce my sister, Muna, who retired from Kaiser. She used to live in San Jose, but now she moved to Henderson, Nevada. So that's what that is.
Welcome. Thank you for coming.
President Steve, Tim Hagstrom, Education Sector. I'd like to introduce two guests today. Hal Hendrickson, who is Vice President of Marketing for our local council of Boy Scouts of America, and my good friend Maurice Bailey, who's been to the club before. We're hoping to recruit him as a member. He's an advisor to startups.
Don't judge us too harshly today. Matt Bell.
Good afternoon, President Steve and everyone. I'd like to introduce my guest today, Kiko Barr. She's a realtor with Keller Williams in Santa Clara.
Welcome, Kiko. Thanks for coming. Okay.
Hi, President Steve. I have one for you. I'm going to introduce Stephen Garawaya with the Media Publishing. He does the Saratoga Spotlight, Los Gatos Living, Willow Glen, and one out in Evergreen. He's not here yet. Okay, welcome, Stephen.
Welcome, Stephen, when you arrive. And Matt Bell, as soon as you swallow your food, come on up. Matt is going to follow up on our little membership caper from a couple years ago. All of you Spartacus wannabes remember that, I'm sure, but Matt Bell.
Thank you again, President Steve. So wanted to start off by thanking all members who a couple weeks ago, if you were here, you recall, we asked you to have a little fun with that, asked you to stand up for Rotary and commit to a goal of recruiting one new member this Rotary year. So thank you to all of those. And as you can see, we've got their names up on the screen. In fact, I'd like to if I could ask you to please stand up once again if you have already committed 2 weeks ago to standing up for Rotary, just for a moment, if you would, just to be recognized. So thank you again for that commitment. And I'd like to take this time to offer those who were not able to be here a couple weeks ago to now stand up and commit to, again, recruiting one new member for Rotary this year. Who's going to stand up right now? Great. Give everyone a hand. Thank you for that. James, Pam, Karen, Dennis. I see a lot of people out there. If you're online, thank you, Elizabeth. If you're online and would like to participate, please just email me, if you will, directly. I'm in the directory. Please email me and let me know that you are going to make that commitment. We'll make sure that you are listed, as well as that you get your wristband that President Steve is actually handing out right now. So thank you all for that commitment. There's also, as you've seen, a number of prospective new members here today. I want to thank people like Tom Bondi and Rod Diridon and others who are already getting after that commitment of recruiting one new member. One of the best ways for recruiting is to get people here. As you've seen today, my guest Kiko Barr is someone who actually reached out to our club proactively. So I can't really take the credit for recruiting Kiko. She's here on her own volition, very interested in Rotary and wanting to learn more. The best way is to get them here. And one of the ways that we can help you do that is that we have 50 free, well, there's a few less now, but 50 free lunch passes for guests of Rotary. Now, not just guests, but prospective members, Leslie wants me to emphasize. Prospective members only. If you have a prospective member, bring them to Rotary and let the office know by noon on Monday of that week that you're bringing a guest, and that person will get the free lunch. So thank you for all of your efforts. We're going to be back up here from time to time, encouraging and recognizing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Matt. So you can see on this screen, picture of my partner and my dear friend, John Ball. This is John with his brother-in-law and one of his dear friends. John and these two guys were ready to ride in the Death Ride. I'm sure some of you know what the Death Ride is. It's an insane ride that in some cases people who are 20 or 30 years old can't do it. John has done it, I think, 3 times. These guys train to do this crazy ride. They ride for 14 hours or 16 hours. They go 20,000 feet vertical. They start in Markleyville. And they ride all around Lake Tahoe and through all these passes. Well, the the race was scheduled for July 16th or July 17th. And the day before the race, John and his buddies were in Markleeville when this happened. This was literally miles away from where they were. So I think John told me they were literally at the hotel checking in. And as they were checking in, there's this giant billowing smoke nearby. And they said, hold on a second. And they went and looked, and that was it for the ride. And then minutes later, I believe the death ride was canceled. So this Tamarack fire, it's probably still burning. I actually don't know much about the details. But so John and these two guys, after being prepared and spending probably hundreds and hundreds or even thousands of hours training, ended up not being able to do the ride. They'll probably do it next year. I think John's goal is to be the oldest person ever to complete this ride. And John's not here, he's on vacation, but I think he's on Zoom. So John, we miss you, and what you guys did was incredible. So congratulations. Give John a little more love, come on, a little more. Thank you. Now Sean O'Kane's gonna come up and tell us a little bit about the fall barbecue. Okay, Sean, Mr. Smart Guy, why don't you do this thing in the voice of Arnold Schwarzenegger? One or the other.
All right.
Go for it, Sean.
It's fall barbecue rotary time. Let me tell you, such a wonderful tradition with incredible food and fellowship. You're killing me with this. We're going to have, doing this and that and things of that nature, all right? All right, September 1st, 5 p.m., History Park. Grab a drink from the Shopmobile provided by amazing Good George right over here. My advice is to tip him heavily because he's working so hard for us. Let me tell you, tip him at least 20% of your annual income. Or a pair of 49er tickets with parking, whatever works. Enjoy fabulous appetizers and a delectable dinner prepared by executive chefs. Are there executive chefs here today? Anyone? One. Two. That's gonna be a problem. All right. Can you hear me still? All right. So I know some of them are here today. Thank you for being here. And that's what I'm talking about, participating, and it's fantastic. We're gonna pump you up, all right? And of course, enjoy, I'm gonna kill you. Enjoy our all-star service by Red Badges. How many badges do we have here today? That's gonna be a problem. Thank you. Thank you. We'll be serving wine and cleaning up, and thank you for your service. You're fantastic. Absolutely. We need more Red Badges. And of course, you know, have a shout out to your fellow Red Badges. Get to the chopper now. Don't miss out because we're going to pump you up. Sign up now, online, okay? Promise? I'll see you there.
Thank you, Arnold.
President Steve, I've been feeling guilty.
And Andrew, what the hell are you doing?
I need a moment here. Okay, now I get this moment now. I don't care what you do. I'm taking the moment.
We have a program and an agenda,
Yeah, I'll
Andrew.
do that. You know, sometimes again.
That's 200, go ahead.
All right. Well, you know, one of the things that as the member of Rotary people stand up here and they celebrate things in their life. And I've been negligent. I haven't done a very good job of telling any of these stories and going forward because I'm too damn cheap.
Can you do this in 30 minutes?
You just hit me up for a couple $100. So, and I want to say that whatever I do today goes to Rotoclass. Whatever you hit me up for, I just want to go to the Rotoclass. I'm not putting it in your pocket. Anyway, but you know, my daughter got married, and I think $100 for my daughter would make sense.
Let's-
But,
That was 300. Thank you. Go. You're up to 5. Keep going.
well, that wedding was 5 years ago, so you're right.
With inflation, that's 600.
Yeah, well, and she also went and got a PhD on a full ride scholarship, no cost to me, in paleoanthropology from NYU, and an MFA.
700.
Okay, I'm done with it. You know, let me say to the, well, what I'd really like to say is that this is the 20th anniversary of Symphony Silicon Valley, and I'd like to put a couple $100 in for that. You know, we're
900.
Yeah. Well, you know, we've got this event coming up, and the opera and the symphony together are going to do Strike Up the Band. This is going on over at San Jose State. Many of you knew we used to do Target Summer Pops over there. Well, we're doing a completely free concert Labor Day weekend, and we'll be out there with John Nakamatsu, with opera singers, with the symphony, and it's a free concert for everybody. We'll hope you'll come out, and this is our 20th anniversary. And then you hit it a bunch more times, didn't you?
1,200. 1,200.
He's head of the foundation. You know, we got to have a point here, right? All right, well, I'm going to go through this quickly. The 3 bells will be for the plus 30 years my life and work partner Jennifer Watkins has put up with me, because we've had a wonderful, loving relationship all these years. And then on October 1969, I got my first paycheck in the arts. And that puts me over 50 years serving audiences and artists, and I'd like to give 5 more.
So a few months ago, I get the wonderful call from Mike Block. Hey, Steve, you want to play in a golf tournament with me? Sure, Mike, what are we going to do? Oh, it's just 3 days at Olympic Club. Oh, okay, I'll go. Got to go to Olympic Club. So Mike and I got prepared and we went on a really excellent adventure. Mike, you want to tee it up a little?
Well, the good news is we threw out all our bad shots on the practice round. So Steve and I just about broke the century mark the day before. So I don't think we came in with a ton of confidence, but I felt like we were just going to enjoy each other's company and just be loose.
Well, what I'll say is my partner, Mike Block, was a birdie machine. And those of you who know golf know that's a good thing, not a bad thing. So you can see our little scorecard here. We tied for first place in our flight, but we won because we had beaten the guys we tied with when we played head to head.
Who were quite a bit younger than us, two Harvard grads, by the way.
That's true. We showed those guys, didn't we, Mikey?
Yes,
The Santa Clara boys have something going. And so it was an amazing experience. They kept winnowing it down. It started with 96 teams, and then it was 20 teams, and then it was 10 teams. And Mike and I just kept plodding our way through and winning and winning and winning. And then finally, it ended up with 4 teams of 2 out of the 200 golfers. And then we went to the 18th hole, which any of you who golf can visualize the 18th hole. It's one of the best holes in the world. And then this is Mike Block hitting his second shot. You can see that the word got out to the Bay Area that we had a chance. So all of our friends are there in the audience, and Mike,
We did have golf fans for the first time of our lives.
we actually had people cheering for us, which might sound bizarre, but it is true. So I just want to thank Mike for being a great partner, and he won MVP in this whole darn tournament, and I was just there mopping up the whole time. But this is a picture of me, and Mike's in there somewhere after the 18th hole. So, Mike, don't you think we should fine ourselves for this?
Yeah, so I don't know about Steve. He wins money everywhere he goes, I suppose. But for me, this was a lot of money. And I think we need to each ring the bell once to share some of our winnings with the Rotary Club.
Why don't you come up and ring it for yourself, and we'll each ring it twice, Mike.
Okay, and Steve, a little memento, because this guy, he's giving me credit. This guy really is the best golf partner in town and made everything. And so I put together a little memento of the day. So I'll present that now to you.
Come on up, Mike. That was 2 for me and 2 for Mike.
There you go.
Aren't we cute?
Best couple.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to get the congeniality award.
I'm gonna leave this here for you.
Thank you, Mike. And that's probably the most self-serving 3 minutes of the year, so bear with us. Arthur Jew, could you please come up? He doesn't even know we're going to do this.
Need that a lot of the homeless.
I didn't do
and those who are underserved are the last to get the vaccine in this campaign against the virus. We're not forcing anybody. Everybody makes up their minds. We want to make sure everybody is well informed, has all the information they need to make the decision.
Between the so-called Jurassic Park camp and a much larger camp near San Jose's airport, the coalition is averaging about 25 vaccinations per day.
Unmet need.
So Arthur is going to introduce our speaker today, but I just wanted to give him some love from the club for doing God's work out there with these homeless people, and he's doing incredible work.
Oh, Andrews. Yep. Well, that was very unexpected. Thank you very much for that. And there are other Rotarians here that are helping in that effort. Todd, where are you? Todd has been helping us canvass, do some pre-canvassing before that homeless event. So thank you, Todd. It's my pleasure today to introduce our speaker, Abe Smith. When the Rotary Program Committee was thinking about wanting to have a speaker on hacking and cybersecurity and how we got so compromised in our US infrastructure, the first name that popped into my mind was Abe Smith. And I hope, I don't want to steal his thunder, but I hope Abe will tell you how he got his name, because it's a kind of a fun story, but maybe he will. But Abe has been involved with the securing our nation's infrastructure for over 25 years. He's worked with companies of all sizes and varieties to help reduce their risk to vulnerability and penetration. He's worked for many companies, including Equinix, Cavium, Cepheid, and even small companies like Visa to help them with their security. When 9/11 occurred, Abe was drafted by the FBI and US Secret Service to advise them and teach over 400 top CEOs in the US how to secure their companies from cyber attack. And for his service and contributions, he received the US Secret Service Director's Award, as well as a Malcolm Bowdridge National Quality Award. He's a regular keynote speaker at Gartner's Global Security Conference, and perhaps most importantly, he has an uncanny ability to make complex technical subjects easily understood. He's an excellent storyteller, and so we're in for a real treat today. I might share one more thing as Abe is coming up here. I think he has the distinction, if I have my story right, of being one of only 2 speakers to ever be asked twice to speak to the Berkeley City Council. And the other speaker who they thought was very interesting was Condoleezza Rice. So with that, we're in for a real treat as we hear now from Abe Smith.
Thank you, Arthur. It's a pleasure to be here today in front of you speaking. Arthur, thank you for, can you hear me better now? Okay, thank you. The reason I was asked by this Berkeley City Council to speak twice, as Condoleezza Rice was, not because I'm as smart or as influential as she is, but the audience had so many questions that they said, we can't handle this, so we come back a second time, answer just the questions. So that's the story. That's the true story of I'm looking for the remote so I can go to the next. Today's talk is mostly going to be on like a fireside chat. I'm not going to delve into the details of many things. The first question I want to answer is, why do we need security today? The reason we need security today is the number of security breaches, which used to happen every couple of years or maybe once a year, have now become monthly and even daily or weekly issues. And they not only attack the most visible companies who are capable of defending themselves, but they unfortunately attack smaller companies which don't have an IT or a security staff. So that's the reason for us to really pay attention to security today. I want to talk about dwell time. Dwell time is the time from when you are infected as a company and when it's discovered. And sometimes dwell times, as I'll show you, like in the SolarWinds case, was almost 2 years. So this is why we need security on a regular basis, and everybody needs to be vigilant. Here are some of the notorious attacks that have happened. SolarWinds back in December of 2020. Colonial Pipeline, which was an amazing feat for the FBI to not only defuse it, but to recover almost half of the ransom money that was paid. If you look at some of the biggest data breaches that happened, they are scary in the number of people that were impacted, tens and millions of people, the amount of fines, the people that lost their jobs. So this is something that we should all pay attention to. Why do these things continue to happen? I mean, I've been in security now for 25 years, and many years ago we thought, you know, after a while everybody will get the idea, but they still continue to happen. And the primary reason is most companies think it will never happen to them. It'll always happen to somebody else. The second most reason that is given is that they can't afford security. They're too busy with the operational details and keeping the business running. And then they have other business priorities. All of these, as valid as they are, can cause a lot of damage. And it is much easier and cheaper to pay for security before you were breached than it is to clean up the mess afterwards. So how can we protect ourselves? Well, first let's define what a security breach is, and that depends. There is no such thing, and I'm sorry to put this sacred cow out to pasture. There is no such thing as 100% security. Anybody who thinks you can give you, sell you, or implement 100% security for you is not telling you the truth. The only way you can have a 100% secure environment is if you turn every computer off, lock it up in a carton, and put it in a warehouse with a security guard in front. But then the computer is not very useful. So the moment you connect to the internet, insecurity or security breaches percentage goes up significantly. But there is something you can do, and that is you can make yourself less vulnerable to being breached. And you can do that by becoming a hardened target. So let me give you an example of that. My talk today is not meant for the security geeks, the propeller heads. These are for ordinary people like ourselves who can understand who run a business. Sorry, I'm going the wrong way. I'm going to show you pictures of two homes. This is a beautiful, idyllic home, but you can see that it is not very secure, not well guarded. Here is a home that has locked door, deadbolts, security camera, and barred windows. If a burglar came and wanted in your neighborhood to rob a home, would he attack this home or would he attack this home? So what I'm hoping you will understand is that you will make your house more of a guarded one. Here is an example I saw on CBS. I hope it'll play.
If you get a little too close to a mountain lion, well, a hiker in Utah is describing a terrifying encounter near his home. He recorded this on his cell phone, which is not exactly what I think I would do in that moment, but 26-year-old Kyle Burgess met the animal on a trail south of Salt Lake City. It is graphic evidence of what happens when humans get too close to the wild creatures. Carter Evans has more on their very scary meeting.
No. So I expect that all of you will guard your company's infrastructure much like the mountain lion was guarding its cubs. You need to be careful. You need to scare away intruders. And you can do that by being a hardened target. And you can do that. And for many, many years, I worked with our auditors, external auditors, internal auditors to help my companies that I was working with be more secure. And one of the first questions we always asked was, do you have a formal security awareness program for your company? And if the answer is no, it doesn't matter how much money you spend in technology and processes, you will be breached. And the reason is human is the most insecure link in the security chain. So you have to train your employees to be more security minded. Don't click on everything that comes down in your email. Password security, having your password more secure. And you may think that only small companies have simple passwords. I can assure you, I have worked at big multi-billion-dollar financial companies who are processing billions of dollars in transactions. And they have passwords. I can't officially give you the name of the company and the password, but it was as simple as ABC123. And this happens all the time. When I confronted my vice president and said, how come we have this password? He said, Abe, we tried a harder password, but our admins kept forgetting, so we went back to the simple password. So I am not making this up. This is not on a TV show. This is real life corporate America that is doing this. And in majority of the security breaches, when a security breach happens, the first biggest reason is that the company is vulnerable. They have not patched their system. And number two, that passwords are the first things that they break, and then they are able to exploit the rest of the vulnerabilities. I worked at a large financial company, and we had over 3,000 employees. 2,970 of them had local admin rights. It should be the other way around. Less than 5 people should have local admin rights and server and domain admin rights. When you have local admin rights, which makes life really easy for you to install stuff, do things that are normal for you, it also, once you get compromised, the hacker then has admin rights on your computer that they use to compromise the rest of the company. And the last one is called SIM, Security Information and Events Management. What that means is you cannot manage what you cannot see. So you have to know what is going on in your environment. And the only way you can do that is you collect logs from everybody, the servers, the firewalls, the routers, the desktop, laptops, and send it to a common server called a SIM that is able to use artificial intelligence and machine language to understand what is happening much better than a human brain can, and give you examples of what things to look for. When you are looking to provide security in your company, you should look for the following services if they are being offered by the vendor that they're doing. Security awareness, make sure that you have also 24/7 security visibility. Contextual vulnerability. Let me talk a little bit about that because most people don't understand what a contextual vulnerability is. Many times in big companies where we have 5,000, 10,000 servers, if I go to the operations people and say, Microsoft has announced a new vulnerability, you need to fix it, and they say, how many servers are we talking? If I say this vulnerability is hitting 2,000 servers, they say, go away. You guys have no concept of what operations is like. We cannot patch 2,000 servers. But if I go to them and say, here are the 2,000 servers that need to be patched. However, here is the priority of stack ranking them. So if you can only do 15 today, here are the right 15 to patch today. And then you can do 20 tomorrow. This is very important. And there is software available that can give you contextual vulnerability of systems. Most people are not aware of it. All they get is vulnerability, 2,000, 5,000. Data loss prevention. If your company handles customer data, credit card information, anything that is confidential, HIPAA, that is covered by HIPAA or CCPA or privacy kind of information, you need to protect it. And the way you protect it is not only encrypting the data at its source, which is called data at rest, but also data in motion. And it should only be opened and accessible by people who are authorized to do it forever. And you should be able to recall the permissions and delete the permissions on an on-demand basis. That is available today, but not everybody uses it. Obviously, most systems, desktop, laptops, servers, they are designed by the companies that make the operating system like Microsoft, Apple, Red Hat, etc. They are made for ease of installation, not necessarily for security. So the next thing you need to do is harden your operating system, much like the pictures I showed you, where you have hardened houses. You need to harden your server so that it is less vulnerable to hackers. Obviously, you need to patch your servers and your desktops and laptops as soon as the patches are officially released. You need to back up your servers and data. One of the biggest things we were talking about for the last few years for ransomware was if you have a good backup, you don't need to pay the ransom. You can restore your backup, your data from your backup, and you'll be good to go. Unfortunately, that's no longer a good strategy because the ransomware people have learned that even if you have a good backup, if they threaten to release the data that they have captured to public, showing that you did not guard their data properly, you would be liable. And therefore, that having a good backup as a remediation or mitigation for ransomware is no longer valid. In the case of Colonial Pipeline, JBS, and others, the hackers threatened to release the information in a public way. Also look for your vendor to make sure that they provide daily and weekly reports to you on a regular basis of what they're doing, how they're doing it, and whether that makes business sense to you. if the company is careful and willing to provide security as a differentiator and as a business enabler. Those are the common things I wanted to talk to you about today. I really had a longer talk, but I was told, keep the talk short and leave more time available for questions. So I'd like to do that now. Thank you.
Please, if you have questions, come up from the microphone, and just a reminder, red badgers can bump you out of the line, not physically, but just move to the front of the line. James, go right ahead.
So I know a lot of small businesses, organizations say, well, my important information is now in the cloud, you know, because so many are no longer using desktop applications, using cloud applications. So it must be safe. And that's an excuse I've heard multiple times, like we don't need to do this because the important stuff is in the cloud. What do you think?
Sure, thank you. A lot of people assume that if your data is in the cloud, like AWS, Microsoft, and others, Google, it doesn't matter what the brand name is, they do not necessarily provide you with security. And it's a bad idea to assume that your data is secure because it's in the cloud. I work for a big cloud provider company, and a lot of people just assume, oh, my data is with X, and therefore it's in the cloud, and therefore it must be safe. It's not. You should always make sure that you are providing adequate security for your data in the cloud.
Thank you for your comments. Our Rotary Book Club read a book called "They Tell Me This Is the Way the World Ends" by the New York Times expert on cybersecurity. And one of the points she makes is at some point, diplomacy or diplomatic force is going to be what's required to get Russia to make changes and to control individuals in their country that we know they can do. I'm just curious your thoughts on Biden's outreach to Putin and what I think are those initial steps, and what do you think that will have in positive effect?
Sure, thank you. So this is just my opinion. I want to make sure you understand that. And before, United States both has a defensive capability and an offensive capability, as we found out when North Korea took some pictures offline a couple of years ago. United States did some offensive capability against North Korea, and they were off the air, the whole country. Not a lot of computers in North Korea, but they were off the air for a while. So we have offensive capability. But before we exercise offensive capability against countries like Russia and other big countries that have offensive capability, we got to realize that as a country, we are the most vulnerable because we have most of our lives online. And there is a saying, those who live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. I call it, those who live in glass houses shouldn't change clothes with the lights on. So before we attack other countries in offensive capability, we have more to lose. United States government hires, like just last year, they hired 2,000 new people for offensive capability so that we have that. Eventually, we may need it, but it is not, just like nuclear deterrent, it is not what we should lead with. So it has its limitations, even though we have quite a bit of offensive capability.
Good afternoon. Could you please comment on cell phone security? You've been talking about corporate machines, but so many of us keep lots of information in our cell phone and contacts. And I've been a victim of people being able to get into my cell phone at one time. So any comments on what we should be doing as individuals with our cell phone?
Yeah. Cell phones are just as vulnerable as your computers are. So cell phone hacks and compromises have been going on for a long period of time. I don't personally keep any of my data on my phone that is like, my bank statements or anything like that. Do not keep it, anything that you have, because it's easily compromisable. What else can I say on? Today, there are programs available for big companies that can protect your cell phone just as well as they can protect your laptops and desktops. But those are not available to us, people who are, small companies, etc. So.
Good afternoon. With the, the awareness of texting viruses like SolarWinds and Bleeding Heart, that sort of thing, that kind of made this also mainstream that we all know about it, right? General public knows about it. What are small to medium-sized businesses doing as far as dedicated chief security officers, especially in this area here, that are dedicating their time to ensure their company security? What type of, how are they measured? And lastly, what is their incentive, or what is their consequences if there are issues that they didn't take care of or measurable?
Yeah. Unfortunately, nobody is safe on the internet. There was a case just a couple of years ago where a small mom and pop florist in Illinois was compromised and hacked because some hackers in Middle East wanted to make a point that they can attack United States. So they picked a florist in a small town in Illinois and took them off the air completely trashed their system. Just a couple of weeks ago, I had a lady approach me and said she has a small website for crochet or some kind of work, and she has been compromised. So unfortunately, hackers are not compassionate. They don't go only after the big guys, they go after anybody and everybody on the internet. It is up to you to defend it. And if you have a web presence, you especially need to make sure that the website that you have has been pen tested to make sure that it is secure. It doesn't have the standard vulnerabilities. The technical jargon is called OWASP 10. And if you need to test that all websites for OWASP 10, that's just the most basic standard stuff that you need to test for to make sure that it is secure. But unfortunately, the answer is anybody on the internet is a target.
Thank you for your talk. As you were talking, I was thinking about when we get gas, we have a choice of 87 octane, 89, 91, and then if you have an electric vehicle, you go home and charge it. But if you look at the number of people in the room, you've got a standardized approach to something as simple as gasoline. But when I think about your comments in your talk, if you went to each of our homes, you would probably find about 125 different approaches to what you talked about. How do we, as that common individual without an IT person on staff, figure this thing out so we can standardize it in a way that we all have a common language we know what to do tomorrow?
Good question. Many people think that if you have a Netgear a firewall at home or a Comcast firewall, a router that comes from Comcast and Sprint and AT&T, not all firewalls are created equal. I was working with the FBI right after 9/11, and we managed to break into several firewalls just as a demo, and commercial firewalls that we could get within 4 minutes. And the longevity of many servers that are unprotected on the internet is less than a minute. So unfortunately, if you are on the internet, you are a target. I manage and help many businesses here, and there was one business that was being attacked 375,000 times per week. People were probing and trying to get inside it on a regular basis. And to them, they don't care if you're a multi-billion-dollar company or a mom and pop shop. They will try to compromise you. the best thing you can do is, and not everybody, like at home, I have a $2,000 firewall, but I didn't pay $2,000 for it. I got it for free because of the nature of the work I do. Not everybody can afford a $2,000 firewall at home. So you can do the best you can with the products you have and just hope. The most sane and secure thing you can do, I would recommend, is make sure that you apply your patches almost automatically. Many people, when they get the warning, Microsoft has a patch for you or Apple has a patch for you, they'll say, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it next week, I'm too busy today. I would recommend choose the option to apply it immediately that night so that next day you are covered. So apply the security patches as fast as they are available. Now, you might ask me, but Abe, what happens when a patch is bad? That does happen. Probably once a year or once every 2 or 3 years, a bad patch goes out. But the risk of that happening is far smaller than your risk of being compromised. So I would recommend the best thing you can do is apply patches, pay attention to when you get the notices, and do it as soon as possible.
Great talk, Abe.
Thank you.
2 quick things. I do want to hear how you got your name, but I don't want to take all the time. But tell me, I cannot get my head around ransom. If I steal Carl's Porsche and I say, Carl, you're going to give me $100 grand, I'll get your Porsche back, and we make that happen, I get it. If somebody steals this ransom stuff that's going on, they're saying, okay, we'll give you the keys and you can get back into your computer. Well, they still have all your stuff.
Yes.
So why not just do it again every month once you get the payment?
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. But I'll tell you something even crazier than that. I know 2 companies that shall remain unnamed in the Bay Area who, after they were hacked, they fired their security team and hired the hacker to protect the company. So yes, if you pay the ransom, if you paid ransom once, there's nothing, they don't have any morals and qualms. They can take you out again, or they can collect your money and not give you the decryption key. All of those are possibilities, but most of the time, absolutely. And that's the name of the game. So I don't have a good answer for you as to what you can do when you get, the best thing is prevent it from happening. Prevention is, I often tell many of my customers, you can pay me now or you can pay me later. It'll cost you much more money later with the brand damage and the damage control and all of that. So yes.
A couple of things. One is, I didn't realize you and I were working for the same government agency right after 9/11, but I now know in different spheres. A data point, you said 270,000 attacks a week. 10 years ago, on the site I was running, we were running on our logs over 100,000 a day. And it was coming in through AWS. And we were able to backtrack. But we knew exactly what the source site was.
Sure.
The second is for those people who are wondering what to do, when you're not using your computer, turn it off. That's the best advice I can give you, because if it's physically powered down, they can't get at it. The third thing is, that I've implemented is, and I'd like you to comment on whether it's effective at a corporate level. I use LastPass. So all the software keys that I have do not run mom and dad or ABC 1, 2, 3. They're randomly generated. I can go in and randomly generate them and keep them up to date. And I can manage the family's financial information on the 2 computers. It may be too much for corporate, but I don't know. You know better than I do.
Sure. Thank you. So yes, many companies get attacked more often than 100,000 times a day. You are absolutely right. Regarding password managers, that's what he talked about when he talked about LastPass. The password managers that are popular are LastPass, 1Password, and others. The only one that has not been hacked already is 1Password. LastPass was hacked a few years ago, and the other password managers have been hacked. So definitely you should use a password manager. Any password manager is better than no password manager. And what they do is kind of like key loggers. You want to go to your Bank of America site, you go to the Bank of America site, enter your password, it captures the URL, your user ID and your password, and next time it logs in for you. But then it's using a password that is big hulking password, uppercase, lowercase, etc. So you reduce the chance of your password being ABC123 or your dog's pet, your pet's name, etc. So you definitely, if you can use one password manager, use it, generate, set the default to 20 characters or more and uppercase, lowercase, and use that. I prefer 1Password, but that doesn't mean it's the only one. LastPass is good and others, but any password manager is better than none.
Final brief question, please.
As a consumer, I use like McAfee or one of the other.
Sure.
Are those worth what we're paying for?
Are you done? So you saved the nuclear question for the last one. So there are probably 17 to 20 antivirus software that we have. And I regularly look at a report called NSS report that they do a lot of testing of antivirus. And antivirus programs like McAfee, Symantec, and others are good. But at the moment, in the last 5 security conferences I have attended in the past year or two, and been on the panel, the company that seems to stand out among all of them is CrowdStrike. Unfortunately, they are not available as a consumer, so you can't buy it in onesie twosies. They will only sell it to you in 15 or 25 batch, etc. But if you can afford it somehow or get your hands on it, CrowdStrike, in my opinion, today, and this is not just my opinion, it's the opinion of many security panels that I've been on in this year. They are the best. They are the most effective. They are so effective that for large corporations, not for small mom and pop shops, after they've been there for 30 days, made sure they clean your environment, they offer a $1 million warranty insurance that if you get compromised with their antivirus in place, they will pay up to $1 million in repair and damage and remediation.
Abe, could you wrap up with telling us this brief story about how you got your name?
So right after 9/11, I was working with the FBI and Secret Service on their advisory board helping secure the US infrastructure. But every time we traveled, I was tagged by TSA. And my doctor told me, Abe, it's time for you to get a colonoscopy. And I said, Doc, I don't need it. I get a free one every time I travel from the TSA. So the FBI said, we're not supposed to tell you this, but somebody with your name threatened to blow up a plane and blow up buildings, et cetera, et cetera. So you should either consider changing your name or you should travel separately so you don't hold up the entire team when you're traveling. So I went to my wife and her maiden name is Smith. So I took her maiden name because she complains that women have to take the husband's name. So I got some brownie points in taking my wife's maiden name. And I shortened my name to Abe from the multiple letters that were in it. And I thought that was a good compromise. And I have never been stopped by TSA after changing my name. So much for security. Thank you.
And Abe, our club will make a donation in your name to San Jose Jazz. So thank you again for speaking today. Next week,
My friend Russ Hancock will be speaking about the Silicon Valley Index. Russ is a great speaker. I highly recommend that you show up. So with that, thank you all. See you next week.